In this video, we're going to look at road markings, which are one of the areas where people tend to do really badly in the theory test. So by watching this video, you'll pick up some extra marks and your chances of passing the test go up significantly. So the first thing you need to know about road markings is you actually need to know quite a lot of road markings. There are a lot of them out there, and you have to understand all of them. And you could be asked questions on absolutely any of them. So make sure you're familiar with all of them and that you can pick out which one is which and explain what they mean. The good news, however, is that a lot of them are very obvious. You could have a box with the word doctor written on it. Obviously, that means that that's parking for a doctor. Or bus stop, it means it's a bus stop. School, keep clear, that is very self-explanatory. A lot of these you just don't need to bother learning because they are so obvious and so clear in their meaning. However, some of them are just not so obvious. For example, that triangle, you may know it, you may not know it, but you have to learn it. What's the difference between two stripes on a pavement versus one stripe? What's the difference between having a red box and a white box? These are all facts that you need to know, and we're going to go through those. So let's start with that triangle. So that triangle simply is a warning that says that there's going to be a give way sign ahead. And you can see that the road marking and the road sign match up. That if you look at the white background surrounding the road marking, it matches up with the red of the give way sign. So it's very easy to remember that one. You've then got a lot of stopping restrictions, and you have to know all of these. So the most common ones that you'll see are yellow lines, which is no waiting if you've got a double yellow line, and a single yellow line is that there is no waiting at the times shown. So there are specific times in which that single yellow line operates, and there should be an associated sign that says the times. You can then have yellow stripes, which are to do with loading rather than stopping. So if you've got two yellow stripes on a pavement, that means there's no loading. So you can't stop there, load up a car, and then keep going. Or if you're driving a delivery truck, you can't stop it there. No loading at the time shown, particularly if you've got a busy road, they might restrict between the busy times. So you might see a sign saying from 9 to 5, there's no loading, but other times it's fine. So check the sign that goes with it to know whether you can load or not load. You've then got red routes. So red routes are very common and increasingly common in very busy areas. So you'll see them particularly around London. And they're similar to yellow lines, but there are some differences. So when you've got double red lines, that's the same as double yellow lines. That just means no stopping. So any red route, you're going to have lots of stopping restrictions. It's to keep traffic moving and prevent obstructions. You've then got the single red line, which is no stopping, but there's specific times that you will be allowed to stop. You've got parking and you've got loading. So in the parking, you've got a parking bay, but it's got red lines next to it. And there's going to be very severe time restrictions. They don't want so much parking. And so there will be an associated sign that gives you restrictions. Then a red box is for loading, but there's usually a restriction of 20 minutes. And there's time restrictions. You won't be able to load any time of the day. So red routes, remember, that's all to do with stopping restrictions. They're similar to yellow lines, but the parking and loading is slightly different. So if you remember that, you'll get past all the red route questions. A lot of people haven't noticed these, particularly if you live in a rural area. You've never seen them before, so make sure you learn them. All right, you can also have lines in the middle of the road. There's lots of different ones, and you've got to know the difference. So when it comes to lines in the middle of the road, the length matters. So a center line is kind of your normal. So that's what you would normally see in a boring, sensible, unhazardous road. So a normal straight road, you would tend to see those sort of lines. If the lines get longer, and so there's less gap between them because the lines are longer, that is telling you that there's a hazard ahead. So there's something going to be happening soon that you have to be aware of. So seeing those on the side of the road gives you a cue to start scanning ahead and try and work out what your hazard is. You can also have very thin ones, which is telling you that you've got lanes. So if on a dual carriageway or a motorway, you'll have these thin lines that's not showing you the division between different directions of traffic, but simply showing you where the lines for the different lanes are. And of course, you can go across those when you're changing lanes. You can then have things like double lines. So this is where you've got one solid line, but then you've got another line next to it, but that line is broken up, and that has specific rules. So let's imagine that you're here. So you're on one side, and the side that you're on has the broken lines. In that case, you want to cross it, you can, if it's safe and you can to overtake. If you are on the other side of the road, you'll be crossing the solid line, and that's going to follow the rules that's going to come up just in a second. So you've got a double line, and you'll notice that the line on your side, so if we imagine that you are here, the line on your side is solid. You cannot cross that whenever you like for any reason. There's specific restrictions. So you want to cross this line, you can do it if it's safe to enter what we call adjoining premises. So, for example, if there's a house on the other side of the street and you're turning across there to go into that house, that is permitted, but you want to do very carefully. To enter a side road, so if there's a road coming off that and you have to turn there, that's permitted, but you've got to be very careful. And it says also to overtake slow-moving road user. So, for example, someone on a bicycle or a horse and rider, you may overtake those, but you have to do it very, very carefully. You can't overtake when there is a solid line on your side when you're looking at a fast-moving vehicle. That doesn't mean, a car that's on a 60-mile-an-hour road that's going 40. That's still a fast-moving vehicle. You can't overtake that. Any road user that's going above 10 miles an hour, you're not allowed to overtake. So in essence, that is telling you there is no overtaking unless it's a special case. So we've also got these shapes here, and they are much stricter. So generally speaking, you should just never enter these. You should never be crossing those. You can, if it's absolutely necessary, if it's broken, so you can see there the spaces between it. But when you've got a solid white line border, you can only go in there in an absolute emergency. Otherwise, it's completely banned. So you should remember that one. You can then have some lines that go across the road. These are just a case of sitting down and memorizing. So you've got two types. You've got stop and you've got give way. So a thin, solid line going across the road from left to right is, signals or a police control. If you've got a thicker line, that's for a stop sign. Annoyingly, level crossings are also broken, but that does mean stop. Generally speaking, the give way signs are broken lines, with the exception of the level crossing. So you've got entry to a major road is double. So that's saying there's a very busy road coming up. Be very careful. That's why there's double of them. You've got roundabout, and then you've got a mini roundabout that is thicker. And these are telling you that you've got to give way when you come to that roundabout, obviously. The last one on our list is just the box junction. Some people know this, some people don't. Simple rule with the box junction is you only go into a box junction if the route that you're turning into is clear. So you can't go into it unless you're confident that you can come straight out of it. That is the rule for a box junction. So hopefully this video has been very helpful to you and you're now very familiar with road markings. And finally, thank you very much for watching.